Thank you so much. Lori Watson is so kind. She comes down here not enough to suit me, but she loads up her truck and brings her nice little boy, John Charles, with her, who's going to be in middle school next year, I think.
Yes,
That's pretty exciting. We've watched him. It's fun because when we've known people this long, we know their families too, which is kind of fun to see those children grow up. But Lori's out there at Mill Creek Greenhouses on Leesburg Road, and she's brought some wonderful things. And we were talking about how, we're always saying that, the plants, a lot of times that we traditionally used, like tea olives and clayera are just too big for modern homes. And you've got some things that I think are making that bridge down towards the smaller landscapes that a lot of us have. And also we've got some things that represent pollinators, that attract pollinators. So let's start at this end of the table, because this is just, it kind of looks like my sister, son-in-law put some kind of stuff in his hair and makes it stand up. And this looks like it had some of that kind of waxy stuff in it. I love it. It's very upright and dramatic, and I think it would be a real fun thing to have in the landscape.
It is, or in a pot. I mean, it's great vertical, like you said. But it doesn't like a lot of water, so it's great for the landscape that might not have a sprinkler system, or it's on a slope, as we were talking about earlier. It's called lomandra, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, lomandra, the breeze, came out of, people have been around nurseries and seen it, but this is a variegated form that came out this year, and we got it in quite small to the pot, and it's really grown for a variegated plant quite quickly.
So, so if you had a slope, an area that drained well, where you wanted to be sure that soil was stabilized, you could put plugs of this in, small ones, and probably quickly cover it and stabilize the soil there. And it would be a place, where since the slope probably wouldn't hold the water, it'd be real happy there.
And it's evergreen. Probably the only downside to it is if we really had a cold winter, it might hit it back some.
But it would come back.
It possibly would,
think. We're not quite sure yet.
If you had a good root system going in it,
it would. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and then this is the coolest thing. It's just got a funky growth habit to it, and the color also is pretty charming, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's actually in the honeysuckle family. And when we first got it at the nursery, I treated it like a honeysuckle and put it out in full sun, and it didn't like it. So the man that grew these told us, well, we grow them under high pines, some shade. So that's where we've sort of kept it.
Or morning sun.
Morning sun.
Yeah.
But it's called either little boxleaf honeysuckle or boxwood honeysuckle.
And it does look, it's reminiscent of that, and yet but it's a little more interesting because it kind of spreads out a little bit. I like that. It's not just going to be a green meatball.
Right.
Yeah.
Gives a little texture to the garden. So.
And the color. And so how big do you expect this one to get?
4 by 4, but it's a slow grower. So again, a pruner maybe every 2 years if it gets too much.
Yeah, so that's really, that's not a high maintenance demand.
And then it keeps its gold color. It's just amazing.
And I was looking at this, and we have a caterpillar on it. And I don't know if we can get a close-up of him or not, but we'll get a picture of him sent into Vicki Bertinelli. When caterpillars have hairs on them, when they're fuzzy, it's best not to touch them until you know what they are, because sometimes those hairs are called stinging setae. So I'm just going to admire this fellow from a distance. But this is a plant that I know insects would come to, and there would be insects that are very important because those would be our pollinators. So let's talk about this great echinacea.
This one's a part of the Sombrero series, and it's called Salsa Red. And actually, I've never seen a red like this.
It's pretty wonderful.
Yes, it's wonderful. It started yesterday, and we were like, this morning we were like, did you see that echinacea bloom? But the echinaceas can be a little fussy maybe, and some people sort of give up on them. I wouldn't suggest to give up on them. Just plant them earlier in the season. Usually if you start going into August and September and you plant them, they might not be as
they may not be established well enough to come back the next year. But if they've gone through a good full summer growing season, then they'll have a strong enough base to return.
Mine in my front yard have reseeded, but it really took me several tries to get an echinacea to come back, to really go, and now they're beautiful.
But once you got the right space and learned how to treat them. And I'm looking at this, the buds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's just going to go on and on and on and be covered with pollinators. And even after they dry, the dried top is absolutely stunning and also still an attractive feature on the plant.
And for birds, I would
I would think so. Yeah, I'm sure somebody would find a use for it. Okay, and then what a great color.
This is a wonderful plant. It's called Aralia Sun King. Aralia Sun King.
And we have a native Aralia, but I think this is an Asian variety.
It is. I didn't know much. This is funny. We grew this plant. I really didn't know much about it until this weekend.
Yeah, but you're those, we don't care. We just want to grow something new. I know. Yeah.
So I saw it in Atlanta first several years ago, and I begged for a plant, and the man gave it to me, and then we grew it. But a lady from Tennessee came, visited this weekend.
Really?
She's in the landscape industry up there, and they use this plant a lot. It's very deer resistant. It's really mainly very gold. I've kept it in a little bit too much shade, so it's turned a little bit of green.
It's still a very eye-catching color.
Yeah. Right. But put it near a red Japanese maple. She has hers in the woodland garden, which is kept a little bit dry. And then she also has one up on her front street that's kept, half-day sun.
Really?
But she seems like it's the most durable plant around. That she uses it everywhere.
Pretty drought resistant.
Very.
And then deer resistant.
Right.
Gosh, I mean,
yeah, she asked a lady to grow it for her to use in her landscapes that she planned. So
if you had a more, like Amy Dabbs is with us tonight, says that where she is down in Megat, she can't have anything. So we may have to send this home with Amy and see how, if South Carolina deer are going to be as respectful as the ones in Tennessee are. And then this one over here isn't in bloom yet, this big tall thing. But again, for Pollinator Week, what a plant.
Yeah, Boneset, a native plant. Part of the Eupatorium family, and it will bloom probably late summer, but the texture of the plant is just so pretty. It almost looks like a Monarda.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
It's just
And Carolina Wild is a native plant nursery that's up in Anderson.
Yeah, and she introduced this to me, gave it to me, and we repotted it and put it in these and really seen it, come full.
Yeah,
so.
And she told me that she goes out and hand waters in the afternoon sometimes, which you can do if you're not wetting the foliage, and that she said she almost drowned the plant because it had so many pollinators and such an incredible variety of them that she couldn't make herself move on to the next plant. And I've had that same experience in my garden. If you're interested in pollinators, Boneset is one that will just keep you always at your insect book trying to identify it. So, and then in front of it is a smaller little already blooming pollinator.
Yeah, this is a Coreopsis.
Yeah.
And it's called Sunshine Superman. So it's a great little seeded Coreopsis. Does really well.
And so do you think it'll seed down, or is that an annual that we'll have to do every year?
No, ours came back in a pot that we had one left over from last year.
Okay,
yeah,
super.
I mean now we had a mild winter, but it still came back as a Coreopsis.
All right,
so,
super. But it would just, but it's probably, even if it just was blooming all summer, that would be plenty.
Yeah, and it's very mildew resistant. We haven't seen anything
nice.
on it, so that's nice for a Coreopsis.
Yeah. And then what a treasure, a new thing to me, just fabulous.
And I just saw this today blooming, but this is a Viburnum, another native called Miss Schiller's. And again, it's a small shrub, 3x3, evergreen here. Can do about most any situation, but I would think in full sun it'd want more water. But the beauty about this one is that the blooms just come, really flushed in spring, but then sporadically almost all through the year. So,
and almost like a boxwood that's
going
to flower
it's got
for
those
you.
little green leaves.
Yeah, just beautiful. And again, a tidy kind of small size.
Right.
Yeah.
Not too overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, you overwhelmed us with all these beautiful plants you brought, and everything, all down front and in front of the main set are more of the beautiful plants that came from Mill Creek Greenhouses. And what are your hours over there, Lori?
We are Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5.
Okay. Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5. Well, it's well worth making the trek out there. And you're next to a church that has a healing spring.
The Artesian Well. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an adorable church. And I told Amanda earlier that they had the stained glass windows that seem to match our flowers
That's
when
fun.
they're in bloom. So it's really neat to see.
Well, thank you so much. We enjoyed having you.